Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel of Mr. Footballer Loons, and today I'm doing Game Week 8 predictions of the Premier League, and I'm going to be starting off on the 7th of October. It's going to be at Kenworth Road. It is Luton Town facing Tottenham Hotspur. Well, Luton Town's last game, they lost 2-1 to Burnley. Adebayo getting his first goal in the Premier League is absolutely fantastic to see. In the previous game, Luton Town got their first win, and Carlton Morris, that was a great first time finish from the set piece. Great balling by Doughty. Absolutely fantastic by Luton Town. They've been getting better and better every game week. But it's facing a Spurs side which beat Liverpool. Liverpool were unlucky. I'll get to that game later on in the video when we speak about Liverpool. But overall, they played well. You know, Richarlison played in more of a left winger position, and overall he did do better. He assisted Son for the first goal, which is great to see. And overall, Spurs are looking much better. Ange Postecoglou is doing an absolute great job, as I say, week in, week out, unbeaten. At the moment, it looks like they're challenging for the title, but we'll see. But in this game, they do look massively strong. It doesn't matter if Luton Town are improving. They got a loss in the last game. They have gotten themselves a win. But against Spurs, I'm afraid I am going to have to go for Spurs win. 3-1 to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, moving on to the next game, is at Craven Cottage. It's Fulham versus Sheffield United. I mean, Sheffield United is not having a good start whatsoever. Just lost 2-0 against West Ham. They just gifted West Ham so much space, which isn't good enough at the end of the day. It wasn't an absolute battering like the Newcastle result was, but it still was a terrible performance by Sheffield United. But you know what? Going against Fulham, I think they will get a goal, because Fulham's defence against Chelsea. Chelsea scored at like the 19th minute, then 20 seconds later, they scored again. And it was defensive errors, you know. It was not good defending by Fulham. And in terms of their attack, they scored 0 goals that game against Chelsea. Overall, losing Alexander Mitrovic has not been good. They haven't been scoring as many goals, obviously, when your big number 9 goes away from the club. And Raul Jimenez, you know what? He gets into the right areas, he gets opportunities, but he's just not clicking in terms of goals. But I am going to back up the home advantage here, because Sheffield United have been much worse than Fulham this season. So overall, I am going to go for Fulham win. I feel like they will concede to Sheffield United, but it will only be 1 goal, and Fulham will be able to get 2 goals over the line, because Sheffield United give teams so much space, and I feel like Fulham can finally get some goals underway, and they're going to get another 3 points this season against Sheffield United. It's going to be 2-1 to Fulham at Craven Cottage. Moving on to the next game, is at Turf Moor. It is Burnley versus Chelsea. And well, Chelsea must be very happy with a 2-0 win. Mudryk, clean finish. And then obviously Brodger, another finish as well. 2 goals in a game for Chelsea. They actually were clinical in a span of just 20 seconds, which was fantastic, as I spoke about earlier. Did really well to capitalise on the mistakes. And obviously another clean sheet, you know. The defence is pretty decent. Another clean sheet, and I think they're going to get another clean sheet here. Burnley did do well to get their first win against Luton Town. There's going to be a hard fixture for Burnley. It is at Turf Moor. It's definitely going to be close. Chelsea always keeps their scorelines quite close. Lyle Foster, another goal, which is fantastic. But Chelsea have been very good defensively recently. A lot of clean sheets have been happening. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, because it is Chelsea. It's going to be low scoring. It's good to see Lyle Foster getting on the score sheet. Obviously, it's a very well-taken finish against Luton. They got a bit of confidence. This could definitely be a 0-0 result, you know. This could definitely be a 1-1 result. It could definitely be a draw. But I am going to back up Chelsea. I feel like this 2-0 is the right direction for Chelsea in the last game. And I'm going to back up Chelsea to win this 1-0. But let's stop waffling about that game. Let's move on to Old Trafford. Manchester United take on Brentford. Well, last season, Brentford won this game 4-0 at the start of the season. And Manchester United are coming off a back-to-back loss. A loss against Crystal Palace 1-0. You know what? I thought, my opinion, Manchester United played better against Crystal Palace than they did against Burnley overall, which is a good sign, but they did lose to Galatasaray. Another positive to take on to Manchester United is Rasmus Højlund, you know. He could have got a hat-trick against Galatasaray in the Champions League, but obviously one of his goals was offside, but overall 2 goals. That's a really positive one for Manchester United. They haven't scored many goals in the Premier League, even with some great attackers like Marcus Rashford, like Bruno Fernandes, and now Højlund getting onto it, you know. He's got some great stroke, he's got some great speed. His movement's fantastic. I really like Højlund for Manchester United, a striker that definitely knows what he's doing. Facing Brentford, and you know what? I got the Brentford-Nottingham Forest game spot on when I said 1-1 last week, and Brentford always like a draw. And Manchester United haven't been properly convincing, especially now with a back-to-back loss. I feel like they will not lose this game, Manchester United, especially at Old Trafford. Especially usually they get back on form. Because last season they had a terrible start and eventually they got back on form. And I think this is going to be a turning point. But I do feel like Brentford, they're unlucky not to get a win against Nottingham Forest. I am going for another draw. They have got the most draws last season. The most draws this season so far with 4 draws. I'm going down the middle, a draw. I'm going 1-1. Moving on to the next game, it's at Goodison Park. It is Everton versus AFC Bournemouth. And while both teams have been struggling this season, Bournemouth struggling a bit more than Everton in terms of points that they've gained. Bournemouth have looked good at some points, but the performance against Arsenal, was pretty poor by Bournemouth. They got battered 4-0, and now this is where they can pick up some serious points, because Everton at home has yet to get a point. But you know what? They played really well. They seem to create their chances by whipping it into the box, and then an Everton player getting a header on it. One good thing is that Calvert-Lewin is not injured. He's scored back-to-back games. Yes, his last goal was just a tap-in, but it's a confidence booster, you know? And a lot of the shots Everton have is from headers. And surely the amount of chances they created against Luton, surely soon it's going to click. And while they did get a goal last game, I feel like they're going to get 2 here. I feel like Everton is the better side against Bournemouth on paper. They have much more experience in the Premier League. And I feel like it's Everton's time. If they're going to get a win, it's going to be here. In my opinion, this could definitely be a draw. But Bournemouth are yet to get a win. And I'm going to keep it that way, because I'm going for a 2-1 Everton win. Moving on to the next game, it is Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, taking on Nottingham Forest. Well, Nottingham Forest are without the defender Nkate because of a suspension that he picked up in the last game against Brentford. And you know what? Nottingham Forest at the City Ground, they always do it. Even with 10 man down, they're losing 1-0 to Brentford. They're getting dominated against Brentford, and they go and score a goal. They manage to score a goal, which is fantastic for Nottingham Forest. But away from home, they have picked up an away win, and it's against Chelsea. But overall, I don't trust Nottingham Forest away, especially after Crystal Palace are looking strong. And usually you would rate the attack. And well, the defence is good, but last game against Manchester United, it was really well structured. You know, that defence was fantastic. Anderson, Gay, Mitchell, Ward, all of them played a very good part in that defence. A very well structured defence for Palace. Looks like they're strengthening in all areas. Roy Hodgson has managed to create a great Crystal Palace side here. And especially with home advantage and knowing Nottingham Forest's away record, I am going to back up Crystal Palace. I'm going to say 2-1 to Crystal Palace at home at Selhurst Park. Moving on to the next game, it is the 8th of October. It is Brighton and Hove Albion at the Amex Stadium facing Liverpool. And while both teams coming out of a loss in the last game, Liverpool's streak in the Premier League was like 16 games unbeaten. I am including the end of last season as well. So this is going to be a real test. The thing is, they were seriously unlucky against Spurs. Obviously, with the 2 sending offs. And well, the second yellow for Diego Jota was definitely a yellow card. That was very silly. The first one, I mean, there was no even contact. There was no contact. The Spurs player decided to trip over himself, and it was a yellow card. It's poor by VAR. And overall, the main bit, which is everyone's talking about, you probably already know it. The goal that was scored by Liverpool, by Diaz, it was a well-taken goal by Diaz, a very good finish. Well taken down by Salah to then get the assist, which should have been an assist. Diaz's goal should have been a goal. But you can clearly see it wasn't offside. I'm not going to rant about VAR, but that was pretty poor, and Liverpool was seriously unlucky. They are going to miss Curtis Jones and Diego Jota, but I feel like Liverpool have enough depth. They still have Diaz, Salah, Nunez. They still have some quality players overall in the attack, and defensively, with 9 men, they did fantastic. And then another unlucky thing was, Joel Matip scored an own goal. I mean, it was seriously unlucky by Liverpool against Spurs. Facing Brighton, which was not unlucky, there was another own goal there, but they lost it 6-1. And well, there is a pattern in Brighton's results last season. You saw it before. They lost 5-1 to Everton, then they came back with a win. They lost 3-1 to Nottingham Forest, and then they go and win 3-0 against Arsenal. So usually they bounce back massively against the big teams. But in this game, I feel like it could be like 3-4-1 to Brighton or 3-4-1 to Liverpool. I don't see it being a draw. Brighton's yet to get a draw this season. It's going to be either 3-1 to Brighton or 3-1 to Liverpool. And I'm going to back up Liverpool. Overall, I think Liverpool are a stronger side. I think they are a stronger side, and they're going to be wanting to get back on form. They're going to give it their all because you know how good Brighton is. But Brighton also are going to do the same. But I think really it could go either way, and I don't see it be a draw. So I'm just going to pick a team, Liverpool. I just feel like it's going to be Liverpool's day to beat Brighton 3-1. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brighton win it 3-4-1. Moving on to the next game, it's West Ham United at the mighty London Stadium taking on Newcastle United. Overall, Newcastle United, I mean, they've got 5 clean sheets in the last 5 games overall. They beat Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. They thrashed Sheffield United 8-0. Fantastic to see. And last game, they won at 2-0 against Burnley. And in that game, my goal of the week for Game Week 7 is going to be Miguel Almiron's goal. It was an absolute well-taken goal. A rocket of a shot just outside the box, top left. Absolute beauty of a goal. And that is my goal of the week for Game Week 7. But Newcastle have been looking fantastic defensively. And you know what? They are playing PSG today, in fact, on Wednesday at St James's Park. It's a huge game. And overall, at the start of the season, I was a bit concerned with Newcastle United's depth. But shown in the Carabao Cup game against Manchester City, yes, Manchester City didn't play their strongest team. They still played a pretty strong team. Paul Dummett and Jamal Lascelles was the partnership I haven't seen for years. And they actually played really well, including Tino Livramento played fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And Matthew Targett played fantastic. And they've already got 4 great defenders. Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, Daniel Byrne, Sven Botman. Sven Botman, it looks like he could be injured. He didn't play against Burnley. But Newcastle, I feel like, do have the depth to go and play against PSG and then play against West Ham. Don't get me wrong, West Ham United it's gonna be fantastic. I feel like it could be a draw. And knowing their attack, knowing how creative they are with James Ward-Prowse, he's definitely going to get an assist. I think West Ham will get a goal in this game because I feel like Newcastle can't keep on getting clean sheets. It is going to end, sadly, the clean sheet run, in my opinion. But I'm going to back up Newcastle. I feel like overall, they have been fantastic in their last 5 games. So I'm going 2-1 to Newcastle United. Maybe biased, but that's what I'm going for. Moving on to the next game, it is Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Molineux once again facing Aston Villa. And well, obviously, they won at 2-1 against Man City. A crazy time. Craig Dawson was absolutely fantastic in the defence. Absolutely fantastic. The amount of times he blocked Haaland from scoring. Wolves completely managed to quiet down Haaland in that game. Overall, they only had 3 shots. But it doesn't matter if you have 3 shots. As long as you get the goals and you're clinical enough. And can I say, Pedro Neto, once again, his speed when he dribbles with the ball is fantastic. Gets past all of them. And obviously, ultimately, he's the one that pretty much scored. But it was an own goal by Diaz. Wang Hee-chan managed to get the goal as well. It was really good by Wolves, but overall in the last 2 games, they've only managed to get 6 shots in the Premier League. But it doesn't matter if you only get 6 shots. They've gotten 4 points out of it. But overall, I don't think their luck with only getting 6 shots is going to continue against Aston Villa, which thrashed Brighton 6-1. Ollie Watkins hat-trick. You love to see it. Overall, I think Aston Villa are a really strong side, and I don't think the luck that Wolves have had in the last 2 games is going to continue. And I'm going for an Aston Villa 4-1. It could be closer, but I am going for a battering by Aston Villa. Moving on to the next game, it is the big game, probably the biggest game of the game week. Arsenal versus Manchester City. And well, last season, Manchester City did win this, like 3-1 I think it was. And you know what? Manchester City, back-to-back losses. Lost against the mighty Newcastle United, 1-0 in the Carabao Cup. Lost against Wolves, obviously, as I just said. Haaland was quiet. Facing Arsenal, who also lost their last game against Lens. But the game before, they won at 4-0 against Bournemouth. I feel like they're going to have to bounce back after that terrible loss against Lens. Manchester City are definitely going to bounce back. Pep is a great manager. He's going to be able to turn things around. Obviously, Man City have had a lot of injuries. Obviously, suspension of Rodri, they missed against Wolves. But you know what? Rodri's back. I'm going to say a draw, you know. I'm going to say a draw. I feel like 2 teams that are going to be competing for the title once again this year, as they did last season. And maybe if Man City was home, I would back them. But I'm going to go for a draw. I think Arsenal got something in this, you know. And I'm going for a 2-2 draw between the 2 sides. that will be the end of my video. But before I do end, let's see how I got on last week. I got 2 exact predictions right. I got a total of 7 points out of 22 points. And overall, I am sitting on 53 points out of 140 points. Hopefully you can like and subscribe, and always remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss one of my fantastic YouTube videos. I will see you next time. Toodle pip now.